What will Minnesota's projected record be for 2025? Let's jump right in. And again, here is the schedule. This is the scale that we use. Minnesota is a tier 3 team. So this is all based off of our tier rankings. Minnesota is in tier 3, same tier as Iowa, same tier as Nebraska. And the way this works is if you play a team in that same tier, obviously that's going to be a 50-50 game. It'll be in the white, the 40 to 60% range. If they play a team that's in tier 4, a tier below them, that'll be in the purple, 61 to 70. But if that game is on the road, it then bumps into the white range, the 40 to 60% range. So that's kind of the way it works. And again, this is not based off of point spreads or trying to predict point spreads, but it usually kind of comes out. You can look at it this way. Games in the white, you would expect them to be very, like 3, 4, 5 point favorites in those games, more like a touchdown favorite in the purple games. Blue for the in the blue games will be like a double-digit point spread, more than likely over 80, maybe 20 or more points. So that's just one way to look at it. Let's start with the easy wins for Minnesota. You've got 3 of them: Buffalo, Northwestern State, and Purdue. And again, this is all based off of our tier rankings. There is no human element here. I will not make predictions until after Memorial Day. It's going to be a while before I start making actual predictions. We got to get through spring ball and all of that. This is just a very early projection. Kind of tells you what you can expect. Okay, so 3 easy wins for Minnesota. Now let's go to the games that they should win. I think they'll be double-digit favorites here against Rutgers. I think that's the only game in this category. So yeah, 4 games there where Minnesota should win. I mean, it would be a pretty big surprise if they were to lose any of these 4 games. All right, next we've got the games in the purple, and you got 4 of these. You got Cal, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. So Michigan State and Wisconsin, they're a tier below Minnesota. They're in tier 4. Cal and Northwestern, those teams are in tier 5, but they're on the road. That's why they are bumped into the purple. So these are games where Minnesota should be 6, 7, 8 point favorites, I would think. But these are absolutely games that they could lose. And if you've got like 4 of these games, the odds are going to tell you that you're going to lose one of them. So they a good chance that they do lose one of these games, but they have also have a chance to win them all. They will be favored in my opinion. So you've got those 4 games in the purple. Now let's go to, all right, so yeah, they're going to be big underdogs, Oregon and Ohio State. I really don't see them winning these games. I think they're double-digit underdogs for sure. Just looking, if I was trying to guess point spreads, these might even be in the red. I think it really just depends on how good Ohio State and Oregon turn out to be this year. And also Minnesota. Obviously, we don't know at this point, but we expect Minnesota, again, to be, a tier 3 type team similar to what they were last season. Those will be very, very tough. Again, it's just going to be tough to win those games. If I'm a Minnesota fan, I'm probably just going to go ahead and count those as losses. But that does leave Nebraska and Iowa. And these are your 50-50 games. Again, teams in the same tier as Minnesota. These are the games that could determine the season. If they're able to take care of business in these other games where they're favored. I'm talking about Cal, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. Again, the odds would tell us they're going to lose one of those games. But if they are able to win them all, then they get to these games, Nebraska, Iowa, back-to-back. That's it right there. That if they can win those 2 games, Minnesota all of a sudden becomes a very real playoff contender. And again, this schedule does give them a chance, but it's going to be tough, obviously. And the odds would say they're going to split those games. You've got 2 50-50 games, then the odds would say you're going to win one and lose one. But like I said, if they can win those games, it could be a very special season for Minnesota. So I just said, if you count Ohio State, Oregon as losses, if you split Iowa and Nebraska, and then you've got Cal, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Wisconsin, odds would say you're going to lose one of those games. So it's pretty easy math here. Projection for Minnesota comes out to 8-4. So actually a little bit better than last year. A very solid season for Minnesota. I think that's a fair projection. A lot of these games, it could go either way with Nebraska, Iowa, and these games in the purple. Cal, Michigan State, Northwestern, Wisconsin. They could lose a couple of those games. They could lose both their 50-50 games. This could very easily be like a 6-6 type season. But if they're able to win those games, obviously then we're talking about 9-3 or 10-2 potentially. So I do think 8-4, a very accurate, a very fair projection for Minnesota. And again, not a playoff run for them if they go 8-4, but still, I would say a pretty successful season in 2025.